Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Akta Sehgal, founder mcube. Mcube stands for Money, Mentoring, and Motivation. For the last couple of weeks, we've been talking to inspiring and aspirational women, celebrating women power. We started this series during the festival of Navratri, and we shall continue till the end of this month, that is November. We spoke to different women from different background, different expertise. Today with us is Mrs. Supriya Dogra, who has spent her entire childhood in an environment where there is discipline, where there is planning, there is a lot of josh, which means we are talking about NDA Khadakwasla in Pune, where our army men get their first set of training. And she is also married to an army officer who we have hosted a few months back, General Vikram Dogra. The entire family, if I can say, is a fitness freak. They all give a lot of attention to their personal fitness and also talk about being fit to many and more around them. We heard General Dogra's story, his passion about the Ironman, but this lady is not hiding behind him like many women who do behind their husband. She has her own identity. Very recently, she cycled many kilometers from where to where. I'm going to let Supriya talk about that. But this lady is a very, very decorated lady. And if you look at her, you wouldn't know what her age is. And at this age, to accomplish what she has is indeed inspirational for many women who cannot go beyond the obvious of taking care of children and managing their house. A warm welcome, Supriya, to our show at MCube.
Thank you so much, Ekta. I'm really excited to be here.
Wonderful. We've heard a lot about you. I've read about you. And, anybody who comes from the army fraternity, I have a soft corner for them because my father was also in the army. And that's how I got connected to General Dogra because my dad was from the Dogra regiment. So I guess the pull was there. So we're going to first talk about Supriya the child.
Okay.
You've grown up in a very disciplined environment. Your father was a professor in NDA.
That's right.
So how was it to stay in that cantonment, in that area where every day you would see discipline, you would see leadership being exhibited? How did it impact your life?
I don't think as a child I really noticed the leadership and other things, but growing up in India was, I think, the best childhood. It's the best childhood any child can possibly have because it's such a beautiful place and there's so many facilities available and it's so safe to stay there. So it was absolutely a fantastic childhood.
Wow.
And of
So,
course, you do see a lot of discipline and all that over there because my father, anyway, was a very disciplined person and very particular about it. I don't know whether it was the effect of staying in the NDA, but we always had a very disciplined childhood.
wonderful, wonderful. And he was an English professor, right?
That's right.
So you took on from him to pursue your graduation and masters in English.
Yes, I did that. He was actually very keen. I joined, I appear for the IAS exams and, sort of further my career. But it was probably a bit of a disappointment to him. But I met my husband when I was in the 11th and I
Okay.
got married immediately after college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So did you meet General Dogra at the NDA campus?
No, at the IMA. It was a
Okay.
coincidence that my father then moved to the IMA where Vikram was, he was the AC at that time, and he had a phone in his room, and it was a very different kind of courtship because he called me up, and I had never met him or anything, and that's how we got to know each other. I was in the 11th.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's amazing. That's like a really long back. Wonderful. So You got married straight out of college,
That's
right?
right.
And you have two sons.
Yes.
Did you have them very soon in the marriage, or you pursued your masters after you got married, or how was it?
I did. I pursued my master's, and our older son, Adhiraj, was born 5 years after we got married, and Angad was born 5 years after that. So everything was spaced out.
Everything was spaced out. Wonderful. Of
Yeah.
course, planning has to be there. When you are in the Fauji family, that definitely happens. You took care of your boys for 20 years till they were on their own,
Yes.
independent. And
About
that's when, yes, please, you want to say something?
about 15 years when they were going through the crucial 11th and 12th years, 10th, 11th, 12th. So those years were, I mean, I dedicated to them till then. And only after that, I started thinking about what I really wanted to do.
Wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen who are watching us or who would eventually watch this conversation at a later point in time, the lady here met her love of life at a very young age, got married. She took care of her sons, her children. Let me not say just son because she could have had a daughter also. And then she thought of herself. So, this is a message in itself that we don't have to fuss and crib that we couldn't do something then. We can always start when we want to. We have to prioritize what is important at that time and then move ahead rather than looking back. And this is a perfect example that Supriya has kept in front of us. So, Supriya, when you decided to start working, how easy or difficult was it for you to step into the corporate world after so many years?
It wasn't easy because I hadn't worked for so long. But I think the army teaches you a lot. I became a soft skills trainer, but the army, I mean, you anyway learn a lot of soft skills when you're an army wife. And I started off with a company which helped me to learn. And then I think I learned a lot myself. I sort of self-educated myself, you could say, in this particular area so that I could then move further on. So
Right.
I worked hard, but of course, being from a forces background helped me a lot because instinctively people sort of feel that, okay, you're from an army background, which means you are well groomed and you sort of can fit into this well. So that helped a lot.
Wow. And you changed industries also, right? You from a soft skill trainer to other industries. So would you like to share how was that entire journey of working? And are you still working?
I am still working, although I'm freelancing because I now want to spend a lot of time doing other things which I like the cycling trip we were talking about.
Right.
But yes, I did change industries because depending on postings and having to move out of Delhi, I would have to quit a job and then come back. And then, maybe you don't get something in the same field, then you move on to something else. And since I've always been fond of writing and editing, so it was from a soft skills job to something to do with content writing. So I kept changing depending because I just wanted to do something and keep busy and sort of move on. Because there comes a stage in life when the nest is empty and the kids don't really need you around all the time. So you need to start doing something for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another two very important messages that come from Supriya. A lot of us know about it, but we kind of tend to become very complacent about it. We all know that, when the man of the house is in the forces, they move every 2 to 3 years, which means the lady of the house has to manage her career, kids have to manage their school, or you stay back and stay separated.
Yes.
But when you need to move, you actually even move your career.
Yes,
And that
that's
in
right.
itself is a change which has to be accepted the way it is. That is one. Second, the nest is going to be empty one day. A lot of women constantly take care of the kids and give their entire life devoted to children without realizing what will happen when the kids move out to pursue their dreams and goals. So, here's a lady like all of us who's actually telling us that this is possible. She's raised her kids. Both the sons are doing exceptionally well. One is in the corporate world, the other one is into fitness. She's pursuing her dreams, and she's here sharing her story with all of us. Isn't that absolutely inspiring? Let's talk about your horse riding interest. You've been winning some accolades in that field also.
Yes.
So, was that a natural instinct or you were trained into it? How did it happen to you?
So, because my sister and I, we were in the NDA, you always saw horses around, and I always wanted to learn horse riding. So, as we were, I think, in the ninth or eighth or the ninth, so we decided, my sister and I, that we had to learn riding. There wasn't any time because school used to finish at 4. So we would wake up at 4 in the morning and cycle to the stables, which was it used to take us about half an hour. And then we would ride, we would change over there, and then catch the school bus from there. That's how keen we were to learn horse riding. And
Wow,
also at that age, you're pretty fearless. So I think you pick up skills like that pretty naturally. And I picked up riding very well, and then wherever it was possible, I was riding. So I think it's something like a skill like cycling, something which you don't ever forget.
absolutely, absolutely. Horse riding, I remember a horse which came into our complex, and I went and petted him, but he was a little violent. And after that, I never went close to a horse. But it's commendable to do horse riding, because when you learn horse riding, or if you're spending time on the horse, it isn't easy. It is quite tough on the backside. It's very, it's not a, you need a lot of cushioning. It's not all that easy. And you look very delicate and petite. Hats off to you to actually carry that. And so it's actually very inspiring. These are the things, these are the skill set that normally women do not go for. And yes, army gives you a lot of opportunities to learn a lot of skills, be it horse riding or any other thing. But I think it is important to understand that it is your interest, it is your willingness and keenness to do something. And Supriya
Absolutely.
has won a couple of accolades in her horse riding dressage.
Yes.
Moving on, a little bit on the personal space before we're going to bring that important aspect that I was very keen to host Supriya. When the kids were growing up, and you were moving places from one posting to the other, what were the challenges that you faced being an army wife with the kids?
The challenges are that, moving from place to place is very unsettling, and the children have to adapt. There are new schools, and then sometimes even the board changes, so you have to sort of get them used to that. So also sometimes you're posted to places which are remote and where things are not easily available in the market, and you have to make do with whatever's around. And it can be a difficult life, but also there is a lot of camaraderie within the with the army wives. So there's a lot of support and a lot of help from everybody. But yes, it can be difficult, especially when there are things like exercises and the husbands move out for a long time, or when they have to go off somewhere on temporary duty, because you have to manage the kids, and there is the school and everything. So those are
Right.
some of the challenges you do face. And then there are also times when you start wondering what you are doing, whether you are moving forward in any way. Because I do remember at one point when the kids were fairly grown up, and I was just thinking to myself that the only qualification I probably have at the moment is that I can bake good cakes. And, there was a time when I started feeling that before I started working. But you do sometimes start wondering and feeling that maybe you're not really sort of advancing or getting to any point where you feel you're improving yourself.
Absolutely. I so agree with you. And I think this is one feeling. that many women have. You know, women go through so many changes in their life. There are so many
Yes.
transitions that one go through, from being a daughter to a wife to a mother, and then a mother-in-law, and so on and so forth. Every stage brings in a change. While men
That's
also
right.
go through these changes, they also, from a son to a husband to a father to a father-in-law, but there is still consistency when it comes to their career. There is still consistency in their identity.
Mhm.
And so it is very important for women to really work towards their own identity, and precisely why mcube has been very keen to bring out women who actually have been able to carve out a niche for themselves, are creating their own identities, not hiding behind any of their male counterpart, be it their brother, father, spouse, or any other male member in their family. And all the women who we have hosted till now are all self made.
Okay.
You are everything that a woman aspires to become, is saying Ela. Wow, house riding, inspiring. There's some beautiful comments coming your way. And I'm going to now bring you to that aspect. Cycling from Manali to Leh, like really.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
a
going to ask
story.
you your age because that's very uncouth. But a lot of us know that,
I'm 18 till I die.
you're 18 till absolutely, sweet 16 and 18 till you die, absolutely. But really, I mean, from Manali to Leh, you cycled,
Yes.
right? And you crossed some peaks, perhaps the five of the highest peaks.
Yes. Some of the highest motorable peaks.
What was the motivation behind this? Why? And let me say this, that Supriya has run a couple of marathons, and she even tried for the Ironman in Goa.
Yes.
But unfortunately, luck wasn't in her favor and she fell ill. But she still aspires to complete the Ironman.
That's right.
So Manali to Leh.
So it started off actually because I had trained for the half Ironman at Goa and I'd trained really hard. I'd been working for a year and my husband was coaching me. So I was running and cycling and swimming. And in September, I was finally ready for the event. I had done a long practice in the morning, and my husband told me that now it's time to start tapering off because the muscles need to recover. And the event was just about 15 days away. And that evening, I wasn't feeling too well. And the next morning, also, I was not well. I had fever and I was, very exhausted. My whole body was aching. And I had fever for about 3 days. So we decided to get a blood test and we found that I had dengue.
Oh,
And dengue, I don't know, it's something you don't want to wish on anybody, even your worst enemy, because it's such a terrible thing that it makes you so weak. I had to be hospitalized because my platelet count dropped to about 20,000.
oh, good Lord.
And I was in the hospital for about 5 days. I lost 5 kgs in 5 days, and not a great way to lose weight. But
Absolutely.
it made me so weak that I couldn't walk 5 steps without breaking into a sweat. And considering that just before that, I was running 21 kilometers and cycling 90 and swimming 2 kilometers, I just couldn't even walk, from in the bedroom to the kitchen without absolutely feeling that I needed to sit down. So 1 year was tough because I also found I had a liver issue which came up because of the dengue. It just got discovered in that. And so for 1 year, I was badly off. I was having steroids for 3 months, and that brought out a lot of complications itself. But when around the time that I went cycling, I was feeling pretty low in the sense that I felt that I was not at that physical fitness, even though I was trying to get back to it. But I was feeling pretty low in my self-esteem and how I felt about myself and all that sort of thing. So a friend of mine messaged me and asked me if I wanted to come for this cycling expedition from Manali to Leh, which is approximately 500 kilometers.
Wow.
My first reaction was that no, I can't do this because I've not been well and it's too tiring. And what if I can't do it? But she told me, she said, why don't you try? You've got a month, so start cycling every day. So eventually I did that. I decided I would start cycling every day. I was using an indoor trainer and I trained on that. And I went for this in a way to prove to myself that I could do it. I wasn't sure even when I left whether I would be able to go through with it and whether I would be strong enough. And I had a lot of doubts. I was worried about the altitude and everything. But that is how this whole thing happened. It was a kind of a way to prove to myself that I still could. I had the physical capacity. It was to challenge myself.
And you did it.
I did it, and I'm so happy. I needed some pushing from my husband, from my friend, and everybody because I had a lot of doubts about it. But now I'm so glad that I went. It's restored my self confidence, and now I hope to try for another Ironman maybe next year.
So when you started your journey from Manali to Leh, right, and you went with a lot of self doubt and a lot of pushing happened from General Dogra and a couple of your well wishers. How was the initial few kilometers? Did you want to quit, or did you say no? I'm going to just make it happen.
I think the whole trip was about 10 days. I think for the first 5 days, I wanted to quit every day, but you just keep going. And then when you're halfway through, you realize, okay, now it's almost over. I might as well go through with it. Because from Manali to Murray, there was a lot of traffic. That was our first day. A lot of traffic. It was very hot, and it was, like from Manali, the altitude is a lot to Murray, so it sort of kills you. So I was just wondering what I'm doing there. But after that, the challenges are different because as the altitude goes up, then you start facing issues because oxygen level in the body becomes low, and every one step is difficult to take. It was very cold also. It was about -10 in places. So they were their own set of challenges. So every time you feel like, why am I doing this? But then as you go through it, you start feeling okay. Now it's not too bad. I've done half of it. Now it's just one day at a time. So that
Right.
was how I took it actually, one day at a time. And at night, I would say, okay, now that's one day over. Now the next.
So came sixth day. You said right after 5 days, you were like, fine, I'm now good to go. What changed on the sixth day that said, okay, let me go for this?
Uh, Actually, what changed was nothing really changed except that your body starts getting stronger and you start feeling that now, okay, I can do this. It's like a routine that every day you're cycling. And also, we built up a very good friendship. There were four of us, and it was great fun. So we used to push each other, and then in the evening, we would sit and chat and pull each other's legs and joke about things. So it was great fun. We did things like spend a night in a dhaba because it was so cold outside in the tent. We had these tiny little tents which were quite claustrophobic. So we actually did things which I never imagined I would do. We asked the dhaba owners whether we could stay in the dhaba. And there were these little raised platforms where we put our sleeping bags and we slept over there at night. And they were very nice to us, the dhaba owners, and sort of very protective and nice about it. But those are the kind of things that I did over there, things which I'd
Wow.
never imagined I would do.
This looks so much fun. A lot of us must be thinking that this is so much fun, but imagine cycling for 10 consecutive days, 500 kilometers, minus 10 degrees at an altitude, with
Yes.
doubts in your mind, and yet you do it. Isn't that absolutely inspiring?
And after about 5 days, I think I started feeling stronger and more sure of myself. Those doubts start dissolving, and you start just feeling good about the whole thing.
Wonderful, absolutely. There's a comment that's come from Samar Siddiqui. Wow, super duper proud of you, super. And there is a heart for you. And there is a question, though I'm a little reluctant to ask that question, but I'm going to still ask that question because this
Okay.
question did cross my mind, but I was a little not too sure about asking this, but I'm going to ask this. Did you ever feel shadowed by General Dogra's achievements, or did it help you achieve your goals?
No, I don't think I ever felt shadowed by him because he's always pushed me and encouraged me to do things. Even doing the half Ironman, it was his idea. And going on the cycling thing, when I had doubts, I told him, I said, I can't go because this is COVID time and I've not been well and I'm not sure if I'm physically strong enough. And he said, don't be silly, you have to. He said, you've got a month, start practicing. And even as the day approached, I would keep coming up with fresh doubts and saying, I don't think I can, this is happening and that is happening. But he would say, no, you go. So, in fact, he went and dropped me to Manali, literally deposited me at the camp over there when we were to start off. So, I've never felt shadowed by him.
Wonderful. So this is a true example that a lot of people say that if behind the success of every man there is a woman. Here
But
we
I think
can
it works the other way
absolutely
also.
say yes, it definitely works the other way around. Sorry, we definitely can say here that behind every successful woman is the man who's standing behind her, guiding her, pushing her, encouraging her to do even better. And these are the kind of men and women that we want around us, everywhere for that matter, so that there is uh, equality, not because, we're talking about gender equality and all those things, but truly we believe that both men and women are the significant other for the other person. And here is a true example of someone who has achieved for himself and made sure that he motivated his wife to actually achieve. So I'm going to ask you this. It's a little funny though. You know, typically one sees that, when the husband becomes the trainer or the wife becomes the coach, there are frictions that happen that, okay, I know it all kinds and happen. So did anything like that happen where, you felt that, I mean, I should have coached with someone else because, he's being very, very strict with you, or what kind of a coach was he?
No, he is a strict coach, but he's also very logical and very sensible, I would say. So we would have friction sometimes because we would argue about things like my diet. I would feel he was telling me to eat too much. And you know how women always have this thing about gaining weight. And he would tell me that I need all that for training and things like that. So sometimes we would have a little bit of friction. But I think by and large, I was a pretty good student because I was quite diligent in my training. And I also realized that what he was telling me made sense because if you're a novice, you tend to overtrain and then you sort of burn out. And I had no idea how to go about it. So he told me how much I should do every day. And I just followed that schedule. And when I was cycling, he would drive behind me in the car to protect me from the traffic because you know how traffic in Delhi is. We would cycle on the Greater Noida Expressway, and he would flank the bike from the and shield me from the traffic. And swimming also, he came and told me what was not right about my stroke because you know when you're swimming, you don't realize for yourself what you're not doing correctly. So he did all
Absolutely.
that. In fact, he was to take part in that half Ironman with me and sort of pace me and stay with me and push me. But after I fell sick, he took part in it. But of course, I was only a bystander and he took part in it.
Right. No, this is really commendable. And I remember from his session at mcube that you got to dream big, and he also made a statement that you need to let the world know what your goal is, so that whatever negative publicity that you get or negative emotion that come your way, that motivates you. So did you do something like that? Did you tell people around you that
No.
you don't?
In that aspect, we are totally different. I didn't want to tell anybody, even close members of the family. I'm the kind of person who would rather do something quietly, and once it's done, then tell people about it. But he believes in that. I can't take that kind of pressure.
Right.
So that is one aspect in which we totally differ.
Wonderful. So that has to be a little bit of difference to make it more exciting. So Supriya, the 10th day, when you finally completed that cycle marathon, how did it feel? What were
Oh,
the
that was
emotions?
an amazing day because, for one thing, we didn't have to cross any pass. So it was from a place called Rumse to Leh. And there's a lot of downhill involved. So it was great fun cycling. And also, we knew we were reaching the end and we were going to stay in a nice hotel. So that was a fabulous day. I have really happy memories of that. And we reached the hotel and we all had a bath and put on makeup which we hadn't even sort of touched in the last 10 days, wore nice fresh clothes, and we immediately went to the market because we were on such a high that we had reached civilization, and so it was a lovely day. We went to a cafe and we had cold coffee and I think a pineapple cake or something, and it was a lovely day.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's so amazing and truly very, very inspirational. And I don't say this because you're on our show, but genuinely, when General Dogra mentioned in a message that you've completed your cycling, my instant reaction to it was like, wow, because it's commendable. A lot of us think, oh, we'll start exercising from tomorrow, we'll start doing this, but you actually did it. And now that you share that there were so many doubts that you had, but you did it. Of course, there was a lot of motivation, encouragement, and push by all your supporters and your biggest support, your husband. But I think you are the one who actually did it, because hadn't you accepted their motivation, perhaps nothing would have really happened. And with when there is doubt, you always want to just run away from all of that, and more so when you were unwell, there were self doubts, and this is a beautiful experience that is telling us it's okay to have self doubts, but we got to push ourselves. We
Yeah,
got to get out of that zone of complacency, because if we don't do that, we will never achieve, and we will be where we are.
absolutely. I think you have to get push yourself out of your comfort zone, otherwise you can't move forward.
So, what kind of a person are you? And by this question, what I mean is, are you the confident kinds who always has felt confident throughout your school and college? Or you would get kind of caught in this kind of an emotion, and then you would get pushed to do something, or you were always self motivated, or you were a
No,
combination of the two?
I think maybe I'm a combination. There are certain things which I feel very confident about, but I'm reserved. I don't like being in the limelight too much. I do need pushing, but if I get the right kind of motivation and pushing, then I'm happy to go forward. I'm just the kind of person, who's right on the edge of the pool or something, and then you have to be given that little push into the water, and then you're okay. After that, you start swimming. So it's that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yes, Mr. Bhatnagar, we are talking about General Vikram Dev Dogra very rightly. Supriya is Vikram's wife, and today we are talking only about Supriya. Of course, when you know both the partners, little bit of here and there happens. But really, really commendable, Supriya, to have achieved this. I think it's a strong message that goes out to every woman that there are challenges, there are moments of doubt, and it's okay to be encouraged by someone. Let's not take it in our ego that why is somebody telling us to do something. It is for our betterment, so we need to understand that we have to look at what is good for us and
And
not keep. Yeah.
also, there will always be a lot of people who will try to discourage you when you want to do something like this. So I think it's very important to have a supportive group of family and friends who help you to move forward, because there are always people who will tell you that it's not a good idea, don't try it. So I think that way I do have a good support system, and my husband, my sister, my friends, they are a supportive group of people.
You're absolutely right. That camaraderie has to be there.
Yeah.
And when Supriya went for her cycling from Manali to Leh, they were four friends. And would I be right in assuming that all four of you were women?
All four of us are women, but a lot of age difference, because the youngest is 24, and that's Sabita. And the other girl, Gitika, is 27. She's a deep sea diver. And then my friend Anju, who's a few years younger than me. So you can say I was the oldest in the.
Wow. So truly, women support women.
Yes, I think so. I think that's very
Yes,
true.
absolutely. Men also support women, women support men. And since now we know about both Supriya and Janal Dogra, how both of them have accomplished their own goals individually with the support and motivation from each other, it definitely is a fact that men and women support each other. And that is why I said earlier that we need men and women, we need couples like this who support each other to achieve all that they wish to. Pull each other up and not down, and you will see that magic happening, because the magic lies within us. And here we saw that magic happening. Self doubt happens with everyone, whoever it may be it a man, woman, or a child. But to be able to overcome that makes that person truly inspiring. And Supriya, I really appreciate you being so candid about this, to actually acknowledge that you were doubting yourself and you weren't sure, but you were pushed to do it and you went. It takes a lot of courage to, actually acknowledge that on a public platform. And I,
I
I
feel
salute you for that.
I feel it's very important because, you normally feel that anybody who goes through things like this is full of confidence, which puts you into a doubt about whether you can do it because you feel the person so confident. And, everybody would assume that it was a breeze for me. But of course, there were hurdles. And I think it's important to know that also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think a lot of people only like to hear the success story, that, oh, she did that. So they all want to hear that, oh, you did that. So how did you feel? But what is important to understand is that how was the journey? We know the destination, but the
That's
journey is the most important thing. Mr. Bhatnagar is saying, this is reference to, he was asking that are we talking about Vikram over here? So he says that he features in a book edited by him, Living Life of Inspiration. Hope Supriya must have read that or would be aware of that.
okay. I'll check that out. And
Yes, so this is Mr. Mukesh Bhatnagar. He's our very, committed member of ours, and he writes. He's authored a few books. So I think Vikram and Mr. Bhatnagar would know each other. So, so Supriya, what message would you like to give to women who give up too easily?
I think the message I would like to give is that obstacles are actually a stepping stone towards success or towards any goal. So, if you take every little obstacle and break it down and sort of figure out how to get over it and you don't give up, I think that's what's important, because you always need something to look forward to in life. And if you just settle down to the normal, comfortable way of living and doing everything in your within your comfort zone, then actually there is not much to look forward to. And it's that excitement which keeps you going when there is something challenging coming your way and you're preparing for it or planning for it. That is what really keeps you going.
So, had you not done this cycling marathon or the cycling expedition, what would have been different? Would
Uh,
the low esteem continue to be, or
No, I don't think it would have continued because I would have started running or doing something, but because I wouldn't have just sat down but this was like a push. It was something just launched me when I was not expecting to. I would have slowly probably started getting back to running and swimming and cycling, but I would have taken my own time. And you know how it is, like you tend to sort of feel that, okay, maybe not right now, maybe a little while, let me get stronger. But I was launched into it, which is a good thing. And now I'm very happy about it.
absolutely, absolutely. So that was the fitness part of Supriya that we spoke about. We spoke about the disciplined life that she has lived, the nomadic life that she has lived, with moving every 2 to 3 years along with her husband. There is a creative element about Supriya also. She paints.
Yeah.
What are the plans for your painting, Supriya?
I hope to hold an exhibition soon, maybe in the month of December, because I've always been fond of sketching and painting, but never really had the time for it because it's something which requires a dedicated amount of time. But in the lockdown, when there was nothing to do except sit at home, that's when I started. And I hope that in December I can have an exhibition and, sort of, I'll
Wow.
see how that goes.
Wonderful. So, would you pursue it now on an
I
ongoing
will. I
basis,
will.
exhibition after exhibition, or
I will continue to pursue it whether my paintings sell or not, because it brings out the creative element in me. It brings a lot of satisfaction. I can sit for hours and paint and not even notice what's happening around me.
Yes.
I'm so absorbed in it at that point. So it makes me very happy and contented. And also that creativity, I think, sort of satisfies something in me, which and makes me happy.
Right. And you did mention that you write also.
I write.
What do you write?
Right now, I've just been writing, you could say, like blogs on Facebook, but
Okay.
some of my school friends will recall that I used to write these Mills and Moon stories in school. I would write
Okay.
down chapters every Monday. I think I was supposed to bring a chapter, and it would be passed around the entire class, handwritten. And so it was always a joke. And I always wanted to write seriously, but then you know how life makes you so busy that you can't find enough time. At least that's what I felt. But
So
maybe now I'll return to
is that an agenda too, to write a book?
that is, yes. Maybe not a book, maybe short stories, or I feel people don't have so much of patience these days to go through an entire book. So if you have short stories, then probably is nicer. But who
Wonderful.
knows? Maybe I'll write a book
Yeah,
also.
no, actually, I think people still like to read books, and of course, blogs, poetry, short stories are a lot in these days. But I mean, if I could get a good book to read, I would love to spend my time reading a book, and so that's wonderful because when you write, when you paint, I think a lot of your personality comes out. In your painting and writing, and I completely agree with you that when you start to paint, even a novice like me who doesn't know perhaps how to even hold the brush properly, if I would, because of my daughter, I would spend hours and nobody would know when the lunch is served or what's going to happen in the house. But
Mm.
it's commendable to see so many facets about you: fitness, soft skill training, content writing to painting, right? How did your sons react to your decision of Manali to Leh?
They were initially shocked, not because of the physical aspect of it, but just because it was COVID time. And the first reaction was, how will you go? Because there's COVID everywhere. And then, of course, they asked about the trip and how many kilometers and what about the altitude and are you sure you're strong enough? But otherwise, they were not really. I mean, I think as a family, we're never very surprised when somebody comes up with something like this.
Wonderful. No, I'm sure after the two triathlons, everybody's get up that okay, this is in the blood and this is in the family. So
Yeah.
wonderful interacting with you, Supriya, and
Thank
to
you.
know more about you from you. Whatever I had heard earlier was, from General Dogra, and I think there is a lot more than what he mentioned about you. Absolutely lovely interacting, and we have comments coming like that. Would love to read a romantic story written by you. I'm sure everybody read Mills and Boons when they
That's
were young.
indulgent. Yes, I think I should get
You
down to
must. And we have a sister concern platform called Motherhood Club, where we give a topic on a weekly basis, sometimes bi-weekly. It's like a prompt or a picture where we
that.
encourage men and women both to write either poetry or short stories. If that interests you, be our guest on the platform, and it might just kind of put you in a routine to start writing on a regular, because that really helped me. Since I
Okay.
write, I attempt to write poetries,
All
and
right.
there are many women who write there in Hindi, and I'm assuming that you would be writing in English, but we have a few who write in English also. So it would be
Okay.
wonderful
I
to
must check that out.
read some of your writings also. And thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
at
It's been
MQ.
wonderful.
Absolutely wonderful. I hope it was a good experience for you
Oh,
also.
yes.
And
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this. I've enjoyed talking to you.
wonderful. Looking forward for more interactions. Keep inspiring men and women both, because what you have done is definitely not a cakewalk. For those who think that one can breeze through it, I don't think so. Imagine walking, cycling, swimming for many kilometers. A lot of us can't even walk for 5 kilometers, forget 500 kilometers that we're talking about over here. So many congratulations for all that you have achieved till now. And I'm sure there is a lot more to come. And keep sharing with us all the achievements. Do let us know about the exhibition also. I'm sure we have a lot of art
I
lovers
will.
who would love to see. And once again, thank you from the entire team of mcube. We are a 4-member strong team, all women, who believe that women need to support women. Of course, mcube is not restricted to women, but we feel pride that we are an all women's team and trying to create a difference. So thank you so much for being here. And for everyone, thank you for being here, for sharing your words of encouragement and comments for Supriya. Wish you all a very happy Diwali and happy festivals. We will meet now after the festivities are over. Till then, take care, stay safe, and don't forget to wear your mask, because the pandemic is still around. It hasn't gone, and we need to be careful. Thank you, Supriya. Take care.
Thank you so much, Ekta, and happy Diwali to you also.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.